White holes can bring the dead back to life. But there is a condition. You first have to be torn apart into atoms by a black hole. If you accidentally get too close to a white hole, you will be violently flung away by a mysterious force. This is the most tyrannical one-way street in the universe, exit only, no entry. Not even light gets to sneak in. In 1916, physicist Carl Schwarzschild solved the equations for black holes. But when the same equations are run in reverse, they give rise to something else, a white hole. Black holes push time forward. White holes pull time backward. In theory, after a person is swallowed by a black hole, all their information would be expelled from the other end, through a white hole. Time reverses, particles reassemble. Even if you were shredded into atoms, you could be resurrected. But things get even more mind-blowing. Scientists now suspect that the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, the birth of our entire universe, may have been the eruption of a super white hole. In other words, you, me, all galaxies, all life, may be nothing more than cosmic vomit, spewed out by a white hole. A black hole is a prison that only lets things in, never out. A white hole is a fountain that only lets things out, never in. Nothing is allowed to approach it. Even if you aimed a light-speed spaceship straight at it, you would still be repelled. You can think of them as two sides of time itself. Black holes push time forward. White holes reverse it. But here's where things get strange. We've already photographed black holes. But what about white holes? For more than 100 years, no one has ever observed even the tiniest piece of evidence for one. That's why many people believe white holes are nothing more than mathematical games. Solutions on paper that don't exist in reality. So why do we say white holes could theoretically resurrect the dead? To understand that, we need to talk about something called the arrow of time. In everyday life, time only moves forward. A shattered cup doesn't reassemble itself. People don't grow younger with age. This is the second law of thermodynamics, the law of increasing entropy. The entropy of the universe always increases, becoming more disordered, until everything ends in a final, silent heat death. But the existence of white holes directly slaps this law in the face. Inside a white hole, the direction of time is reversed. From the outside, you see matter and energy constantly being ejected. It looks like entropy is decreasing, order is increasing. That means if someone is swallowed by a black hole, their body shredded into fundamental particles by tidal forces, the information of those particles would, in theory, be expelled from a white hole, and within the white hole's time frame, those particles would reassemble, from fragments back into a complete person. That is what resurrection means here. Of course, there are enormous problems with this idea. First, we don't know how black holes and white holes would actually connect. That hypothetical bridge is called a wormhole, and it may be fundamentally unstable. Second, even if information could escape, the reassembly process would require unimaginably precise conditions. One atom off, and it wouldn't be you anymore. So this kind of resurrection is more of a theoretical possibility than anything remotely practical. The difficulty of making it happen is effectively infinite. But physicists aren't asking whether it can be done. They're asking whether the laws of physics allow it. And the answer is, yes. That alone is enough to send a chill down your spine. Now let's widen the perspective. If white holes really exist, where would they be? Some scientists have offered a truly insane answer. You are inside one right now. That white hole is the Big Bang itself, 13.8 billion years ago. Think about the defining features of the Big Bang. A singularity suddenly began ejecting matter and energy outward. Space-time started expanding from that moment. Everything emerged from a single point. Doesn't that description match a white hole perfectly? In 2014, Italian physicist Carlo Rovelli published a paper proposing a theory known as black-to-white hole transition. He suggested that black holes don't remain black forever. After a massive star collapses into a black hole, quantum effects eventually cause it to bounce and turn into a white hole. For an external observer, this process could take billions of years. But for matter falling inside the black hole, it happens in an instant. This theory leads to a shocking implication. If our universe emerged from a white hole, where did that white hole come from? The answer may be, a black hole in another universe. That means there could be an older universe out there, with a gigantic black hole that collapsed to the extreme, and then rebounded, spewing out our universe. And the black holes in our universe will one day become white holes, giving birth to new universes. A universe inside a universe, endlessly nested. It sounds like cosmic nesting dolls, but this hypothesis has been seriously published in academic journals. If white holes are so important in theory, why haven't we found any? Scientists have proposed several explanations. The first is that white holes are extremely short-lived. Calculations suggest that once a white hole forms, it almost immediately interacts with surrounding matter, and either collapses back into a black hole or explodes out of existence. Its lifespan could be on the order of Planck time, around 10 to the minus 43 seconds. That's so short that no instrument could ever detect it. The second explanation is that white holes were used up early in the universe. Right after the Big Bang, there may have been many primordial white holes, but they expelled all their matter within the first few seconds, and then vanished. By the time humans evolved and started looking at the stars, they were long gone. The third explanation is the most depressing of all. White holes may truly be nothing more than mathematical artifacts. Nature may simply forbid their existence. Just like you can write equations involving negative time, even though negative time doesn't exist in reality. The laws of physics on paper are symmetrical, but when the universe actually runs, it chooses one direction. Black holes are allowed, white holes are not. But in 2023, things took an unexpected turn. The journal Nature Astronomy published a study analyzing a gamma-ray burst known as GRB 060614. The burst lasted 102 seconds, yet no supernova was ever found. Scientists were baffled for more than a decade. No explanation quite fit. Now, some researchers have proposed that this event could be evidence of a small white hole eruption. This is still just a hypothesis, and a controversial one, but it shows that scientists haven't given up the search. So what would happen if humanity one day truly discovered a white hole? First, you would see a bizarre object, constantly ejecting matter outward. Photons, or perhaps forms of energy we've never encountered before, would be blasting out from a single point. Second, you would be completely unable to approach it. A white hole's event horizon is the opposite of a black hole's. Anything trying to enter would be pushed away by a repulsive field. You can imagine it as a region that is always pushing outward. The closer you get, the stronger the push becomes. Even stranger is what happens to time. Near a white hole, the flow of time becomes extremely distorted. According to relativity, 1 second near a white hole could correspond to thousands of years in the outside universe. The reverse is also true. You could spend thousands of years inside a white hole, while only an instant passes outside. This means white holes could be natural time capsules, storing unimaginably ancient information, from the birth of the universe, or even from a previous universe. If humanity could collect and analyze the material ejected from a white hole, we might read the universe's oldest memories. That matter could once have been stars and planets, from another universe, perhaps even the remnants of another civilization. Imagine holding a grain of dust in your hand, that once came from the surface of a planet, in another universe tens of billions of years ago. Now let's zoom out as far as possible. If Rovelli's theory is correct, and all black holes eventually become white holes, what does that mean for the ultimate fate of the universe? Mainstream physics predicts an ending called heat death. All stars burn out, all black holes evaporate. The universe becomes an almost absolute zero wasteland. No light, no heat, no change. Time itself loses meaning. It is a devastatingly bleak ending. But if white hole theory is right, the ending could be completely different. After devouring countless stars and galaxies, those massive black holes would eventually rebound into white holes, ejecting all matter and energy back into space. Death becomes rebirth. The end becomes a beginning. The universe doesn't march toward a final end. It cycles eternally. This idea could even solve a problem that has haunted physicists for decades. Why was the universe's entropy so low at the beginning? The universe at the moment of the Big Bang was incredibly ordered. That's wildly unnatural. It's like watching a bowl of soup suddenly separate itself into a perfectly plated gourmet dish. The odds are absurdly low, but if the Big Bang was actually the rebound of a black hole from a previous universe, then that low entropy state would simply be the time-reversed result of a high-entropy universe before it. A perfect loop. We humans are nothing more than carbon-based life on an ordinary planet in the universe. Our lives last barely 100 years. We haven't even left the solar system. And yet, small as we are, we can imagine white holes. We can use mathematics to infer the origin of the universe. We can question the very nature of time. White holes tell us something profound. The universe may not be a one-way road, but a cycle. Death may not be the end, but another beginning. Every atom in your body may have already experienced countless births and destructions of universes, torn apart in black holes, reborn through white holes. From this perspective, we are not observers of the universe. We are the universe itself. We are stars expelled from a white hole. One day we will be swallowed by a black hole, and then awaken again from another white hole. Of course, much of what we've discussed today remains hypothetical. White holes have never been observed. Wormholes may never be stable. Time reversal may never occur in reality. But that is the beauty of science. Today's wild speculation may become tomorrow's textbook knowledge. 100 years ago, black holes were just solutions to equations. No one believed they truly existed. If white holes really do exist, if every atom of yours, in the distant future, will be expelled from a white hole in another universe, and reassembled into something new, perhaps a star, perhaps an ocean, perhaps a life in another civilization, how would that change the way you live your life today?